Good morning, welcome in. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. It is another bullish day in the crypto market. We got lots to talk about. We're going to go through what is happening in this market with all the macro factors and major narratives and news announcements that are coming out from the government and how that will impact the crypto market. Thomas Gosling, great to have you. Thank you for tuning in. Guys, on your way in, smash the thumbs up button, the heart button, the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed as yet. It all helps. Steven Santiago, great to have you. Good morning, Etron. Great to have you guys. Just Maui, great to have you. Aloha. Good morning. Tim Bates says, ready for ETF Moon. Great to have you, Tim. Thank you for joining the stream. We got lots to talk about, folks. We'll give another minute for folks to come into the stream here. Lawrence Bronson, good afternoon-ish. Great to have you. We got Crypto Raffi. We got Freddie Falconer. Great to have you. We got Lollywood One. Hi from Windsor, UK. Welcome in. Great to have you all. All right. See, people are coming in. Guys, make sure you smash that thumbs up button, the like button, the heart button, wherever you're watching and listening. Follow, subscribe, all that jazz. Doesn't cost you anything. It supports the stream and the podcast. Thank you so much. Crypto Princess, great to have you. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We got John Doe, great to have you. AA Bess, thank you for joining. We got Get Money Squad. Yeah, for sure. So, guys, lots to talk about, right? So bear with me as I go through my rant here. So if you're looking at Bitcoin, and the reason why we're looking at Bitcoin, because as I've said many times over the years, Bitcoin leads the market. We know the majority of liquidity comes through Bitcoin, and then there's a rotation of liquidity to the altcoins, right? So we want to make sure we have that foundational knowledge. So we're using Bitcoin as the measuring stick to set our benchmarks here. So Bitcoin, as you all know, has been in a corrective state, but it's seeing a bounce right now. On the daily chart, it was in the oversold zone. So anytime you're in the oversold zone, we see the reversal. If we're in the overbought, right, the RSI 70 and above, we see the reversal. This is the same cyclical pattern we've seen throughout the market, not just in this cycle, but previous cycles. And you can use these metrics to validate what's happening with stocks as well, right? So you can look at these different metrics. The MACD on the daily also shows that the bears are losing momentum and that the bulls are about to take control again. So this is the same cyclical pattern we continue to see. The question is this the reversal pump for us to keep moving higher, right? I personally believe it is. Now, can there be fake outs? Absolutely. So you have to anticipate, look, until we get full confirmation, right, that this is indeed, as the price keeps going up and breaking through support levels, then we can call home and say, hey, you know, this is it. But it certainly looks that way. And I'll give an example of a chart here put together by Michael Pozzino, where you see the same cyclical pattern. And right now we're just, about negative 22%. So let's see, could we dip a bit further before going higher? Absolutely. So please keep that in the back of your mind. We don't have a crystal ball. We're dealing with probabilities here, and you can't ignore that bearish, downside and the pressure and so forth. But markets don't go down forever. Like I said, it's cyclical. So if the macro thesis is we are still in a bull market, all of this following global liquidity, and we still got more upside, then we expect that we are at the bottom, or we're going to find a bottom sooner than later, and then we're going to start moving up again. So when you zoom out, it all makes sense. When you're zoomed into like the daily or the hourly, it's pretty rough, right? So this is why I always recommend you guys zoom out. Now, the one good thing is yesterday, Bitcoin closed above the 50-day SMA. That was a key support level. What I want to see is this green line, this 200-day moving average, which is what I've called the bull market line in the sand, that we need to come out of this. Now, Bitcoin has gone below it multiple times in this bull market. I mean, even in the tariff crash, even in last August with the Japanese yen carry trade situation, a lot of people were calling the top of the market then, believe it or not, right? People are saying it was 1929 crash and all kinds of crap. But again, you have to use multiple data points. You can't just use the charts. And we're going to talk about some of the macro factors happening. So we're seeing a nice move here. And what we are hoping is that this mirrors what we've seen in the past, that Bitcoin recovers back above the 200-day moving average and continues to higher highs, right? As it has set a higher low. Look at the higher lows, right? This is important, higher lows and higher highs. So it's a grind. I know it can be, painful at times. The market can really try to shake you out. The whales and the market makers, they want to shake you out, right? They want you to lose hope and be depressed. But no bull market ends with people feeling depressed and fearful. It ends in euphoria where everybody thinks it's going to keep going up. And I think we're headed to that point with some of the macro factors we're going to talk about. So Bitcoin has work to do here, folks. I'm not celebrating yet. That is not what this is. But this is looking at the data and saying, what are we seeing? And we're seeing some positive things here. On the weekly chart, the bulls have to reclaim the weekly. Right now, bears are in charge on the weekly. But on the higher time frame, of the monthly, this is why we look at different perspectives. The bulls are still in control. That's a very positive sign. One of the things I've highlighted in the past, the monthly RSI has not gotten to the overheated zone, which has signaled the top in the previous bull market cycles. And again, you can't just use this alone to validate the thesis. It's this in addition, in conjunction with the other 10 to 12 factors, right? Is why I'm saying this bull market's not over. So when I start seeing the RSI and the monthly get into the overheated zone of 70 and above, that's where I'm going to say, okay, we got to watch out here. We are nearing that top, right? And we haven't seen that parabolic move where it's like a massive peak, right? We haven't seen it. We saw it in 2022, 2017, 2013, 2014, and so forth. Another factor here is the DXY, the dollar currency index, is starting to break down. So we had the inverse happening. The dollar was going up, right? Showing a lot of strength. And then stocks and crypto started correcting. It's like these cyclical patterns. And once you see it on the chart, then you're looking for these patterns. It's kind of like pattern recognition. And you're saying, wait a minute. Okay, so now it's reversing. So that means risk assets are going to start to move again. In addition, what we've been seeing is the stock market was hitting new highs before the recent pullback, and now it's starting to pick up steam again. The other factor is Bitcoin dominance has not collapsed like we've seen in the past, right? Where you have that massive collapse, the waterfall, so to speak. What we saw in 2022, 2017, and so forth, it has not happened here. We've had rallies like in Q4 2024 where you had a mini collapse, our most recent, which was earlier this year. And then Bitcoin dominance has been climbing, but you can see it's going to hit those rejection points soon and start breaking down. So this is another factor as to why I believe the bull market has not completed. Now, is that a guarantee? Of course not. I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I had a time machine so I can go to the future and tell you guys what's going to happen, right? Like the movie Back to the Future, but unfortunately I don't. But I can use the data here to validate the thesis and say, these are the things we're seeing, and the probability falls more on the bullish side versus the bearish side. And here, analyst Matthew Hyland highlighting that Bitcoin dominance is going to reject pretty soon, right? Based on a technical analysis standpoint. And then we should start seeing another major rally. Will that be the major rally to a blow-off top? It's possible. It certainly could, because we're seeing, once again, some big macro factors. Now, one of the things I want to highlight, and I want to be honest with you guys, and let me zoom out as much as possible. The bulls, have started taking some profit based on on-chain data. So notice we're looking at macro factors, we're looking at technical analysis on the charts, and we're looking at on-chain data. Now, they did this earlier in the year with the big tariff sell-off. So I don't think there's panic or time to be alarmed here, because let me give an example. Let me actually zoom out back a bit more. Let me go to January of last year, because this would give us a better view here. Let's see. if I can. 2024. Okay, so here's what when you zoom out, you see what I'm talking about. There has been some profit taking by the bulls, or the whales, excuse me, but it's plateauing. It's not in a steep decline. A steep decline would be like this. What happened in Q2 of 2024? What was this? The ETF launch, buy the rumor, sell the news event. But that didn't mean the bull market was over. But we want to look at this data in conjunction with the other 10 data points, like I was saying, right? So this was something I wanted to highlight. Some of these whales are saying, let me take some profits off the table, just like they did earlier this year. But what we're looking for is for this to plateau and then for them to continue the accumulation. So if you zoom out, though, you see the majority of the whales are still holding. Look at how this trend line is moving, right? It's not in a steep decline where it's rolling over and it's dropping like crazy. So we're going to start to see that when the bull market top is in. So I hope you guys understand, right? Notice what happened in Q2 of 2024. This is what would cause the alarm to go on, right? And I'll be ringing the bell saying, hey, the whales are selling, right? We haven't seen that yet, despite some slow profit taking here. Now, signals like the Bitcoin Pi cycle top indicator it is nowhere close to crossing as we've seen at the previous tops. Not to mention Google Trend searches are not as high like we've seen at the top. Coinbase's app rankings have not hit the #1 spot like we've seen at the top in previous bull markets. So again, we're looking at multiple factors, right? And then global liquidity continues to be a leading indicator where it still shows there's upside here. So all of these factors that I'm throwing here, guys, I hope you appreciate it. We're looking at different angles because we want to be as educated and informed as possible. We want to look at the market from a holistic standpoint. Now, you throw in the government reopening, and we know they have to sign the check to keep funding the government, so more liquidity entering across the board. Trump is saying, hey, I want to give money from the tariff revenue to U.S. citizens, $2,000 stimmy checks. What have we seen when you give people stimmy checks? A lot of it goes in the market, right? People will start putting into the market. In addition, you have the market structure bill that's in the Senate, and you have altcoin ETF approvals from the SEC. So you have these huge narratives. You have these huge landmark events that I don't believe the whales and market makers are dumb to let those things just happen after the market has topped. That doesn't make sense. And I think all of these things will culminate in a massive rally, which will drive retail FOMO and will give us that parabolic euphoric phase that we have seen before. It's just this time around, it's drawn out. And if you guys recall, I've been saying since the beginning, or I shouldn't say the beginning, but since the tariff crash, that this bull market timeline is going to extend because the tariff crash extended the correction after that Q4 rally. The Q4 rally, we anticipated a pullback. That is healthy because the markets got overheated. But what happened? Trump said, hey, here are these tariffs, and then everything started dumping, and then an extended correction took place, and it took longer, right? To a point where Bitcoin was hitting new all-time highs in August, right? Even last August, we weren't seeing it. Last August, it was, people were calling it the top. People were saying it's over because of the Japanese yen carry trade situation. Remember August of 2021, right? Again, the timeline has shifted because of the tariff, and you can't ignore that happened. You can't ignore how long this correction from the tariff crash took. It extended everything. It pushed everything out. So it's taking longer. People are very much caught up in the timeline. Oh man, the previous bull markets topped in 1,000 whatever number of days. That means it must stop again the same way. No, markets cycles are going to deviate a bit. I don't think significantly unless there's some major black swan event, but just look at what happened in 2021, double peak. 2017 was not double peak. 2017 was a straight parabolic move up. So you see, there are going to be differences. There's going to be slight differences. So that's why here, I honestly, again, based on the data, don't believe this top is in. And based on multiple factors that I'm sharing here, and you have these macro factors, folks, right? I mean, just look at what's coming. You're telling me that the Fed is going to ramp down QT by December 1st. The Fed governor, what's his name from New York, was just saying they're going to return to QE by purchasing securities again. Trump, who wants to give $2,000 to people. The market structure bill is still in the Senate. The ETFs haven't launched yet, all of them, right? Again, guys, those are not bear market activities. Those are bull market narratives and milestones that, again, the whales and the market makers would be fools to ignore. Now, again, I can't guarantee all of this, but I can say logically and reasonably, based on the data and all these facts, that's my thesis, that I think we are still in a bull market. Not to mention, you continue to see purchasing of crypto assets by digital asset treasury companies. MicroStrategy, they bought another 487 Bitcoin. Here, Vivek Ramaswamy's Strive, they bought 1,567 Bitcoin worth $162 million. Why are these guys buying if the top is in? Are they looking to lose money? It would be pretty dumb to be buying now and then the market's about to roll over. You know, the bears are saying Bitcoin to 30K, Bitcoin 40K, right? That would be a dumb move to buy right now, because where's the stock arbitrage in that, right? Because you know the game they're playing. Many of them are doing it because the stock market is rallying in conjunction with the crypto market, and they're playing the arbitrage with the value of the assets on their balance sheet, driving up their stock value, right? So again, all of these things I just said, logically here would say, this is not right. How can the top is not in? So that is what I'm personally, that's my thesis, right, guys? And then, like I said, the ETFs are coming. So here, the headline, XRP rallies on US shutdown nearing end, ETF tickers land on DTCC. So you got a bunch of XRP and Solana ETFs that are to be approved by the SEC, in addition to other ETFs, but the two major are the XRP and Solana ones. They have the majority of the filings. So these are being launched into a bear market. What? Right? That just doesn't add up, guys. It just doesn't add up. Now, if you're looking at just charts, you're a chart only guy, you're going to miss all these things and realize that, and you have to realize that markets don't just move based on charts. We use the charts to help navigate what may happen next, but you can't just have tunnel vision for the charts, right? An example would be, guys, in March 2020, what happened? They shut down the economy, everything got shut down, right? But then what happened after that? Markets rallied like crazy despite the economy being shut down. Why? If you're just looking at the charts, you would have said, that's it, it's over, markets are all dead. The government stepped in and pumped the markets with printing the most money in the history of the United States. And they weren't the only ones. Central banks around the world did the same thing. So does a chart tell you that the Fed is going to pump, print the most money in the history of the government? Come on, right, guys? We got to look at the different puzzle pieces together to be as educated as possible. And again, you can't just use one of these things as your North Star. You got to use the complete picture here. You got to look at it from a 360 standpoint. Folks, hit the thumbs up button, hit the heart button, the like button if you think we are still in a bull market based on what I just shared here. Facts and data, not emotions, right? I would love for XRP to go to $10 tomorrow. I would love Bitcoin to go to 200,000 tomorrow. I would love Ethereum to go to 20K tomorrow. That would be my feelings. That would me be on here. Guys, we're going to go XRP $10 next week. No. What is the data showing us? What are we seeing, right? So I hope you appreciate that. So hit that thumbs up button. Quick update from our sponsors, guys. Check out Uphold. Great place to buy, sell, and stake your crypto assets. They have 300 cryptocurrencies, 300 plus actually. They offer staking on 20 plus crypto assets. I've been a user of Uphold for many years. They're safe and reliable, and they don't commingle or lend out your crypto assets. So check out Uphold. Trezor is a great place to, or I should say, they make great hardware devices to safely store your crypto assets. Many of you know I'm a believer in self-custody. I have been for many years. Trezor, they were the ones who started hardware wallets. They created the seed phrase setup and much more. They just launched the Trezor Safe 7, which is quantum proof and has a ton of new features, security features, and much more. It's a beautiful device. I was in Prague when they launched it, and I have one actually. And I've been a user of the Trezor Safe 5 for many years. They support all the major coins, So Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, and much more. And if you use my code ThinkingCrypto, all one word ThinkingCrypto, you can get 5% off on certain products. So check them out. And check out Proppy. I'm very bullish on this project. I am a Proppy token holder. They are putting real estate on chain. You can buy and sell your real estate on Proppy for crypto. So this is a great project. We know real estate's going to go on chain. Billionaire investor Tim Draper he's an investor in this company, and he has been for a long time. They use Coinbase for the crypto escrow service. They're putting deeds on chain and much more. So great project, very bullish on this. Check out VeChain, one of the top layer 1 enterprise blockchains out there, getting a lot of adoption from many different brands and companies building Web3 technology. They're partnered with Dana White and the UFC. Dana White recently said he bought $1 million in VET token. They also launched staking via Stargate, and a lot of big brands using this company and working with them. Boston Consulting Group, BMW, Walmart China, Givenchy, PwC, and many more. Also check out iTrust Capital, which is a great alternative to investing in crypto. So you essentially go through a self-directed IRA where you get huge tax benefits. And you can roll over your existing 401k and IRA to iTrust Capital. So you can invest in crypto and precious metals, so gold and silver. So huge tax advantages. You can buy and sell crypto 24/7. No, it's low cost, no monthly fee. They also have a premium custody account. They use institutional grade crypto custody. So for example, Coinbase Prime, which BlackRock uses. So you can rest assured your assets are safe. I think this is the second safest option behind self-custody to be able to store your crypto assets. So check out iTrust Capital. If you use my code, you can get $100 funding bonus. Okay, folks, let's jump back into the news here. So lots of buying happening, lots of innovation. And folks, one of the things I forgot to mention earlier, we have a bunch of crypto companies looking to do IPOs. Who the hell IPOs in a bear market? You have traditional tech companies like OpenAI looking to do an IPO. Again, will they do that in a bear market if the stock market and crypto has topped, right? Step back and just think about it. These people who have banks who are working on their IPO and room full of analysts, do you think they're going to be dumb to go do this in a bear market where liquidity is drying up and people think, oh, that's it, it's over? No. So we got Securitize, we got Kraken, and a bunch of other folks looking to do IPOs, Ledger as well. So Coinbase today, they launched a new token launch platform. They said here, early access, early access to your favorite tokens. Real supporters are prioritized. Sustainable token distribution. US users can finally join. Now possible with token sales on Coinbase. So looks like they are expanding the ability to launch tokens, which is very interesting. And let's see, what does it say? Monad. Interesting. So I think with Clarity coming in, they're ramping up for a lot of people looking to launch tokens, which makes sense. So I think a big move here. And one of the things I've been telling you guys about Coinbase, there's been a lot of talks about them launching their own token on Base. I've said I will back the truck up to buy that token. I miss BNB, and I'm going to make sure I get this token, guys. But I won't buy the pump, right? I will buy the blood in the streets once everything cools down. Now look at this. Green Ridge stock jumps 30% after New York settles air permit battle over crypto mining operation. So this is a Bitcoin miner, and it looks like they got some favorable news here, and their stock jumped. So okay, so the new 5-year permit finalized Friday allows Greenidge to keep running its combined power generation and cryptocurrency mining site while committing to emissions cuts that surpass the state's 2030 climate reduction goals. It also ends all outstanding litigation between the firm and the state stemming from a 2022 permit denial. So big win here. I think we're seeing more favorable environment for crypto across the United States. And we know New York is a hard one. You know, they got the BIT license and much more. So this is pretty bullish. Bitcoin miner Bitgear Q3 revenue jumps 174% as firm adds over 500 Bitcoin. So these miners, many of them are not selling all the Bitcoin they mine. They are stockpiling it and putting it on their balance sheet. So do you think they're anticipating higher prices? Of course they are. And remember, they have to liquidate a lot of Bitcoin to pay for their operations, right, guys? That's how they make their money. Obviously, they get fees from the network as well, but many of them do have to liquidate some Bitcoin. But the fact that they're holding more and more is smart. We got some updates here from the Bank of England. They've launched stablecoin consultation, final rules to come in 2026. So the token economy continues to be built out here, guys, and central banks and world governments are all on board with crypto now. The people who used to be naysayers and used to say a lot of negative things have bent the knee. Even Jamie Dimon, the king of the fiat world, he has bent the knee. So the United Kingdom's central bank is moving towards stablecoin regulation by publishing a consultation paper proposing a regulatory framework for the asset class. The Bank of England on Monday released a proposed regulatory regime for sterling-denominated systematic stablecoins, or tokens, it said, are widely used in payments and therefore potentially pose risks to the UK financial stability. So, folks, again, they're not banning it. They're regulating it. They're going to put the guardrails in place. The markets, the economies, the governments will all run on blockchain rails. All right, I think those are the major news items. So let's jump into some charts. I want to answer some questions. Elkra, I can't pronounce your name, man, but he says, I need my stimulus to buy crypto. Vatican says, hi, Tony. Do you think Bitcoin will hit a new all-time high before January 30th, 2026? That's hard to say. You know, it goes back to what I was saying earlier with, you know, with this move right here, this could be the start of the next rally, setting a new high, and that could push us into a major rally into year end. So I would say it's highly probable, but obviously I can't guarantee, I can't say this exact number and yada, yada, because look, we are in, I mentioned the tariff situation. Trump is a major factor in the markets, unfortunately, right? He is a major factor in the markets. Just like I was saying, what happened earlier this year, nobody anticipated he would come out with this tariff stuff, and then the markets would take an extended massive correction. And then October 10th, when that happened, with his big announcement dumping the market. So if everything goes according to plan with all the macro factors of stimulus, the market structure bill, the altcoin ETFs, all of these things, the Fed going into QE, then yes, I think it's possible that we could see that. Andy S says, if clarity gets voted on by the Senate, that would be huge. Absolutely, Andy. And just think about that. That is such a massive landmark moment for the crypto industry. If I'm the whales and market makers, I don't pass that opportunity up, because that's going to be mainstream. That's going to bring lots of retail, right? So it doesn't make sense to say this market has topped. And again, I'm not ignoring the bearish signals. I'm just saying, these factors on the scale of bull and bear, these factors outweigh the bearish scenario and any bearish signals we're seeing on the charts. Get Money Squad says, in the chat, salute Tony for another solid breakdown. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Kafka says, my CC go to $2, go next to XRP. I'm not sure I understand. You're saying next price movement is about $2 or so. Let's take a look. Or are you going to buy at that point? Whoops. And then, guys, the other factor, you know, if we're using, for example, Fibonacci extensions, right? And you know what? Let me actually do Bitcoin. Let's go to daily. Bitcoin has not hit the Fibonacci extensions it has hit in the past. Now, don't get me wrong. It has been in a bull market. It has continued to climb the Fibonacci extension wall here, if you want to call it that. So if we do from high to low, and this is on the daily chart from the macro perspective now, right? It is just past the 1.618. But in the previous bull markets, it went above the 2.618. And by the way, I have to sneeze, guys. I'm going to mute for a sec. Okay, sorry about that. Had to get a big sneeze out. So Bitcoin in the past has gone up to the 3.618. So there's no guarantee it has to do that. So I want to make sure I'm balanced here, right? There's no guarantees here, but it has not gone to the levels we've seen in 2017 or in 2021. And it's just hovering around the 1.618 here. And that is just, about 100, just about 126,000 or so. So I think there's still another move here, and maybe it just tops out of the 2.618, right? And even Elliott wave analysis is still showing there's room for this market to run. So multiple factors are showing the higher probabilities that we are still in a bull market. What is that? Jacob says, everything you... do you mean every time I go live, it means you shorted Bitcoin and it's going to drop? I am a bull. I don't use leverage, so I'm not shorting anything. I'm like many of you guys. I bought spot. I bought Bitcoin December 2022, January 2023, loaded up with a bunch of our altcoins. So my Bitcoin portfolio is up, guys. And I'm looking to get as much profit out of this run, of course, but I'm in spot. Ferdy says, I vouch for Uphold. They are a good exchange. Yeah, for sure. I've been using it for years. And they're pretty great. Yeah, Jacob. Yeah, absolutely. Bitcoin closed above the 50 SMA, which is very bullish, holding that support. Tim Hun says super cycle 2026. So Tim, if you told me that at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't have believed you, but then the tariff crash happened and it pushed the timeline, like I was mentioning earlier. And I think this bull market goes into 2026. It's looking that way. Again, I can't guarantee that. And I know some of you may not like that answer, but when it comes to investing, that's how you got to treat it. You got to look at what is the bullish scenario, what is the bearish scenario, which one has the higher probability of playing out. That's something I learned along the way, and I'm trying to share that with you guys, because I know as human beings, we love certainty. We need to know, Tony, tell me exactly what the price is going to be on this date so I can take my profit. I would love that, guys. I would love that. Like I said, I wish I had a time machine so I can go, if you guys remember Back to the Future, I think it's part 2 or was it part 1, where Biff, the old Biff gives the young Biff the almanac, so he knows all the winning scores for all the sports games and he makes the big bets. I wish I could do that. I could go and say, well, okay, this is what the chart shows in 2026, and then come back and then, tell you guys, but unfortunately that doesn't exist, right? But the point is, we're going to use the data, and we have to adjust our thesis as things change. Like if Trump comes out with another crazy tariff announcement and makes the markets crash, I got to update my thesis in the timeline, unfortunately. But the overall point is, we have enough signals to have an idea where we're at and where we're going. And again, I shared quite a few here, more than few, of what I think may happen. Gas fees says, we have heard rumors of flipping the switch rears and Ripple Insider. Well, they might actually be on some. I don't know about that. I'm not in that flip the switch camp. I think those are just narratives. Remember, narratives follow price, right? Right now, you're seeing a lot of bearish narratives because the price has been down. And then when the market starts rally, people come in with the insane bullish narratives, right? They'll tell you, this is going to change the world. It's not going to, immediately, you're an idiot for selling. And that's when your taxi drivers, your grandmas, and everybody starts coming in. You got to make sure you filter out the narratives, right? They exist. You pay attention to them, but you got to filter them because some of them are over the top, outlandish. And we got to make sure we look at the data, because you could ride straight into the bear market with a narrative, a bullish narrative, right? So we got to be careful. No name for me, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Thanks, Damascus. Appreciate it. John Doe says, buying OTC has major advantages. Well, yeah, a lot of big whales buy OTC so they don't move the markets. Damascus says November 20th or when for XRP ETF dates. So some of the ETF guys, the analysts, have been saying this week we could see one. Somebody was saying the 13th. But with the government reopening, we could certainly see XRP and Solana ETFs approved this month by the SEC. Okay, let's see here. Ferdy says EU 2027 is going to be bad. Lagarde wants all 10,000 euro, $10 euro payments to be open. That's pretty crazy. Steve F number 2 says Thursday XRP ETFs on the way. Yeah, for sure. So we could see that this week. Vatican says, hi, Tony. Do you think $20 render is possible this cycle with a market cap of $10 billion? All right, before I do that, guys, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the heart button, hit the like button, wherever you're watching, listening, because we're streaming on multiple platforms. Be sure to subscribe to my free email newsletter. I'll be putting out a write-up later today. Also, check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital, and my course at mycryptocourse.com. So support the podcast that way, guys. Okay, so Vatican wants to look at render, and I do have some render tokens in my portfolio. I remember buying Fetch and Render at the beginning of like 2023. Those bets paid off really great. Okay, so we got to adjust this because October 10th was brutal. Thanks a lot, Trump. Okay, so altcoins. It's almost like we shouldn't look at altcoins right now, like I said, because they follow Bitcoin. And if anybody tells you different, you gotta make sure you bring them back to the data. Now, are there outliers? Like Zcash has been going nuts, right? It's been going bananas, yes. But when we're talking about the total market cap and the majority of altcoins, then we have to make sure we're looking at what Bitcoin's doing and where Bitcoin's at, because that's the liquidity cycle, the rotational liquidity in crypto. So right now, render, it's in a tough spot, tough spot. But that doesn't mean that it can't recover with the rest of the altcoin market. So it has ways to go. Is $20 possible? Yeah, because that will just be the 1.618. So I think that's pretty reasonable. No guarantees, of course. But if the AI narrative picks up strongly, it could even overshoot that. But again, we'll have to wait and see, because if you look at total 3, which excludes Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins, you can see it's below the 200-day moving average, just like Bitcoin. So we got work to do here. Bitcoin has to lead the charge. It's the lead dog in this race, and then the other dogs in the if you want to call them that, in the altcoin market, they start catching up. But one thing I want to show you here, which I was mentioning about Bitcoin, higher lows, right, guys? Higher lows. Yes, you have a wick down, but wick down they don't count. We want to look for closes, higher highs, right? So we need to see a higher high here set, and then if this thing rolls further into 2026, let's see, right? Things along those lines, but. Again, higher highs, higher lows. That's a good sign. Very good sign. Same thing with Bitcoin. What we continue to see, despite the volatility, higher highs, higher lows. So when in doubt, zoom out. It really helps you to see what's happening in the market. Brendan says, why didn't the multiplier effect kick in with Evernorth when Evernorth bought $1 billion of XRP, supposedly from the same exchanges that we use? Do you mean, but remember, they buy OTC, and even if they do buy in the open market, remember what Michael Saylor said? They've bought from the open market, but they do it in such small increments, you don't even know that they're buying it, right? They could do 1,000 small transactions and it doesn't move the market. So this is where a lot of these folks, they do things like that so they don't move the market. It's to their advantage. By the way, I'll be publishing my interview with Ashish Burla, the CEO of Evernorth, tomorrow. So make sure you're tuned in for that. So I still think we got ways to go in this bull market, folks. Lalo G says, hi, a real bull here. This switch is the implementation. Laugh out loud. Okay, I see. I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, Lalo. If you can clarify. Andy says the most recent reports indicate that the Canary Capital XRP ETF is tentatively set to launch on November 13th. Yeah, Andy, by the way, I'll be interviewing the co-founder and CEO of Canary Capital today. So this afternoon, I'm interviewing him, Stephen McClurg. Matt says, what podcast do you listen to for XRP and crypto news, or who do you follow on X? Thanks for your work with Think Crypto. Been listening for a while. First live with you. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you tuning in. So I'll share some folks that, X, I follow a lot of folks on X. Obviously, a lot of the news publications out there, The Block, CoinDesk, Cointelegraph. I follow Eleanor Terrett, because she covers a good amount of the crypto news. I follow a lot of the ETF guys like Eric Balchunas, Jane Seifert, in addition to what's his name, Nature Racy as well. So you can get a lot of ETF news there, and like I said, many of them news outlets. Trying to think who else. You could probably, if you go on my X account and you see who I retweet, like I follow Matthew Hyland to get chart analysis, Jason Pizzino and his brother as well. Let's see here. Yeah, Michael Pizzino and Jason Pizzino, great guys. Benjamin Cohen for chart analysis, Kevin Svensson as well. I follow Walter Bloomberg. He usually covers a lot of different news items. Rect Capital as well for analysis. So these are great people to follow. And then for YouTube channels and things like that, I do follow Alessio Rastani for market analysis. Jason and Michael Pizzino as well. Kevin Svensson. What's this guy's name? Jordan Cranford. I forgot his name. Let me see if we can. Jordan Cameron. He's actually been doing some pretty good Elliott wave analysis type stuff, and check these guys out. Those are some of the folks I follow. XP Market, thank you so much for being a member. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Thanks for the support. David Johnson says Evernorth has not bought on the open market yet. Yeah, David, I apologize if I misspoke, but someone had asked a question, but I just said even if they are buying from the open market, I don't think they're going to buy huge chunk. Again, these guys, similar to Saylor and MicroStrategy, they don't want to move the markets. So I think many of them are going to buy in small increments. Wendell says, still bullish on Litecoin. I have some Litecoin. I did interview someone recently who participated in a Litecoin digital asset strategy company. That interview will be published once my editor is done with it. Okay, let's see here. So Litecoin, like everything, taking a beating, because of everything, the volatility we've been seeing. So like Bitcoin, like all the altcoins, is struggling a bit, but if our thesis remains intact that we still got more upside here, then we could certainly see Litecoin rally to new highs. I think that's possible, and we'll see how high it goes. I do have some Litecoin from back in the day. Ciale Solos Everything. Tony, how many bull runs have you personally experienced, and how do they make you feel in the moment? So I've been here since 2016. My first bull market was 2017, where I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I made a little bit of money, but of course, I panic sold at certain points because, man, 2017 was brutal. There was a lot of corrections. It was very volatile, and crypto was so new. We didn't have governments talking about legislation. We didn't have the adoption. So I envy people who are coming in now because they have the social proof, right? To say, oh, look, JP Morgan, BlackRock, right? They're all adopting it. So it's funny when people right now are saying, man, I'm scared and all that. I'm like, bro, you should have seen what was happening in 2017. Jamie Dimon's voice was much louder because, again, nobody was touching Bitcoin or crypto from an institutional standpoint, but it was rallying. So it was scary times. And then I went through the bear market of 2018, 2019, experienced the bull market of 2020, 2021, and then, experienced the bear market of 2022. And I'm here. My portfolio is up, because I was buying in the bear market of 2022 and early 2023. So that's why I'm trying to share that knowledge of you got to play the macro game here. And right now, I'm not scared. I'm not worried. I'm more frustrated because of the tariff stuff. Like I said, right? That just threw a curveball to everybody because it extended the timeline. It has a lot of people panicking because they're like, oh my God, the market has topped at this point in 4-year cycles. And it's like, guess what? It can deviate a bit. That's okay. But the macro structure, the macro thesis is still intact, right? So that's honestly how I feel about it. And I think I may have posted it on X the other day. As long as central banks keep printing money, I'm bullish. I'm macro bullish. And we see the Fed is they are already signaling QE, folks. It's what we've been talking about for years. Josh says, hey, Tony, are you still bullish on H-bar? Chart definitely looks better today. Oh, yeah, I'm a big H-bar token holder, so I am certainly bullish. But like with everything else in the altcoin market, right now, we can't even judge it, right? It's rough out there because we need Bitcoin to move. Like I said, you look at total 3, we're waiting, excuse my squiggly lines on the chart here, but we're waiting for something like this to happen for the altcoin market. So we really got to exercise patience. This is the macro view, right? It's the aggregate view. So as this starts moving, you're going to see individual coins like H-bar and others start to move as well. But patience is the key, folks. Patience is the key. It's hard. I know it's hard. I'm with you guys. I'm not a billionaire. I bought Bitcoins and crypto spot, altcoin spot. So I'm waiting for the higher highs to take some profit. So I'm with you, man. But this is why it's also important, just as a reminder, to be buying down here in the dumps. So that even if your coin doesn't, let's say 10x, whatever X you want to put to it, you're still making money because the rising tide of liquidity that lifts all boats pushes these coins higher. Now, due to different factors, like your narratives, like your utility and all that, some can go higher than others and outperform others, right? Tokenomics plays a factor as well. But even if a coin just rallies, whatever amount off of its bear market bottom, you're still making money, right? So it's a matter of entry point. If you're buying tops, man, you're screwed because you're desperate for a new all-time high. You are desperate because you're going to be in a loss, in the red the whole time. But if you buy the blood on the streets, you're in the black, you're making profits, and you can take, even if it doesn't get to a price point that you really want to, you're still walking away with money, if you know what I mean. Folks, once again, don't forget to check out our sponsors. Uphold, great place to buy, sell, and stake your crypto assets. I've been using them for years. They're very reliable. Check out Trezor. They make beautiful hardware wallets and make it easy for you to self-custody your crypto assets. They recently launched the Trezor Safe 7. It is quantum proof and has a ton of new security features and much more. Beautiful device. I personally own one. I also own the Trezor Safe 5. They support all the major crypto assets, and they were the pioneers and creators of crypto hardware wallets. So check them out. You can use the code ThinkingCrypto, all one word, to get 5% off a purchase of some of the devices. And check out Proppy, leading the charge of putting real estate on chain. I'm a pro token holder, and I have been since 2018 because I recognize they were ahead of the curve with disrupting the real estate market with blockchain technology. You can buy and sell real estate on Proppy for crypto, and they use Coinbase with a crypto escrow service. They've been tokenizing, putting deeds on chain, and much more. So check them out. Also check out VeChain, one of the top layer 1 enterprise blockchains, working with many big brands and companies around the world like Boston Consulting Group, PwC, and much more to build Web3 technology. They launched staking recently with Stargate. They're partnering with Dana White and the UFC. And I'm bullish on the VET token. I'm a VET token holder, have been for a long time. And check out iTrust Capital, great way to invest and get tax benefits. You can buy, sell, trade crypto, and even precious metals. And they also have a great premium custody product, which uses institutional grade custody that BlackRock uses, like Coinbase Prime, Fidelity, and much more. So this is a great alternative to store your crypto assets, and you don't have to worry. So you can use my link and you can get a $100 funding bonus. So check them out. All the links will be in the description. Okay, let's jump back here to some charts and answer some questions. Thanks, Kafka. Appreciate it, man. Chris says, is the government still shut down? I believe they're very close to reopening. It's like a done deal, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. So we got news here that the Senate is a step closer to ending shutdown as impacts to air travel and staff benefits continue. So they're close. They're close. It's like in the 9th inning here. So should reopen. So hopefully everything goes according to plan, because it would really suck if it doesn't. And I think people are going to get pissed off, if their flights and all that stuff starts to get canceled. Chris says, Tony, can you see XRP hit around $12 this year? I don't think so, Chris. One of the things I've been sharing is that my prediction is like $8 to $10, excuse me. But we would need something epic to happen for that. Honestly, I believe this bull market is going to run into 2026. So maybe in 2026, we see that $10 to $11 range. $12, I don't know. That's a hard one, but let's see. Look, I could be wrong. But I'm going to start taking profits. XRP hits $5. I'm laddering out. That's around the 1.618 here. So taking some profits off the table, not selling all. Then as we hit 6 and 7 and 8, right? Because no one knows what the exact top is going to be. So you want to start securing profits. Lalo says, when they are forced to use the tech plus the secret sauce, as Schwartz likes to call it, utility, following full implementation will push the price into it. Again, Lalo, with all due respect, that's a narrative, right? We got to align the narrative with the charts, because all assets follow global liquidity. And as we've seen historically, I've been here since 2016. I've seen a lot of narratives, my friend. So just make sure you balance the narrative with the data and the metrics, right? Because as I said earlier, you can ride straight into that bear market with a narrative, right? With all these things and whatever it may be. And I'm not saying what you're saying is not true, but markets are not driven by, they're driven by liquidity, right? And the narrative is like the cherry in the top, which drives more people into a certain assets. But then there's an eventual blow off top. They become exhausted. Markets become exhausted, overbought, like I said before, and oversold. So got to keep these things in mind. Andy says the Cardano Summit is November 12th through the 13th. Yeah, Andy, I actually interviewed someone recently about to talk about that. Was it the president? Either the president of the CEO of the Cardano Foundation. So yeah, he said there should be some big things happening there. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, Josh, that's great that you got an H bar at lower prices, and that's the thing, right? Your entry point is important where you got in, because that'll help you to make profits. That's why you want to make sure you're buying when there's blood on the streets, when people are fearful. It will never fail you. Now, can a company or a project go belly up because of some cataclysmic issue or whatever? Of course, but that's the risk we take. But it's better you buy the blood in the streets when everybody's like worried and scared. It's like the Warren Buffett rule: be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. Oh yeah, Steve F number says, don't forget to thank Jim Cramer for the bearish sentiment. Yeah, Jim Cramer's been bearish, so I think that's another big one. Inverse Cramer, right? Yeah, Andy, for sure. So let's hope they get this shutdown ended soon. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up pretty soon. It's approaching an hour here. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, the heart button, the like button, the subscribe button if you haven't as yet. Check out our sponsors. Also, sign up for the free email newsletter. Check out my book on Amazon. Check out my course as well if you want to expand your knowledge around crypto. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. So guys, again, I know it's the cliche statement here, but we got to be patient. What we need is Bitcoin to take action. We need Bitcoin to start moving, man. We need confirmation, right? We're seeing positive signs. The weekly close was great, but we need to get back above that 200-day moving average and Bitcoin to climb higher so that the liquidity starts rolling down to the alts. And then we're going to monitor total 3. So, because we want to see this. Again, excuse my squiggly lines. This is what we're looking for, right? So we know the altcoins follow Bitcoin. So that's what we're looking for. And if my squiggly lines are right here, as far as timing, that takes us into Q1 of 2026. So the hope is that we end the year in a strong rally. There's going to be a natural pullback, a healthy pullback per usual, and then the continuation. That is what I'm personally looking for. Obviously, no guarantees. Obviously, Trump is a factor with tariffs, right? That's been the bane of our existence this year, right, guys? After Q4 2024, we were like, yeah, Trump, right? Crypto. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy we're in a friendlier environment with crypto. Just the tariff stuff has been a massive curveball for everybody, right? Even the stock market. I mean, if you look at the S&P 500, look what the hell happened in Q1, Q2 of this year. Look at that. So even if you were in stocks, you got hammered, right? And crypto, of course, much more volatile. It doesn't have as much liquidity as the stock market. So everybody took a beating. And then, Trump on October 10th, the crazy ass tweet, right? And then we know what happened after that. So the tariffs have been like a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. We don't control that. So we can continue to look at the data and, look at the macro factors like what Trump is floating here with stimulus payments, government reopening, market structure bill on deck once the government reopens, SEC, with the altcoin ETF approvals and much more. So we got positive things on the horizon. And again, even crypto companies doing IPOs and traditional tech companies doing IPOs. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. Damascus says, lots of analysts call 250K by end of year now. Where are they? Yeah, this is why I'm not throwing out, you don't see me throw out ridiculous price predictions, right? I'm not like, hey man, by December, we're 200,000. I'm not playing that game. What I can say is based on the analysis, I think we could see higher highs, right? That's literally what I said in this live stream because I don't want to be caught in that trap. It's because I don't have a crystal ball. And like I said, I wish I did. I wish it was like Back to the Future. I can go to the future and come back and tell you guys, but unfortunately it's not there. But we can look at the data and say, hey, we see higher highs, higher lows forming. We're seeing Bitcoin reverse from being oversold. We're seeing global liquidity continue to be a leading indicator. We can see the whales are slowing their some of their sell-off. That's a positive sign. We can say different signals like the Pi cycle top indicator have not flashed like we've seen historically. We can say Google Trends is not at the same level as the top like we've seen historically, as well as app rankings for Coinbase. We can look at Bitcoin dominance and say, hey, man, this thing is not waterfalling like we've seen historically. And we can look at, I forgot to show this earlier, USDT dominance has not broken down as well, right? Where that liquidity starts entering crypto. And I believe once we fall below 3.7%, that's going to be, I think, euphoria zone. So we got some things that are still here that it doesn't align up with what we've seen in the tops before. And I don't believe, or I should say, we have not seen bull markets end in fear. They always end in euphoria. That is the game. And that's not specific to crypto. That is in the stock market as well. And we know all of this is running in line with global liquidity. Now, one of the things we talked about was gold and potentially a top being in. I don't know, or it's a local top. But gold is also a leading indicator in this market. It has been, some people did the chart analysis aligning gold with Bitcoin. And if gold's big move recently, is a leading indicator of what I think is going to happen with the stock market and with crypto. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you think. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to wrap it up now. Again, check out all the links in the description. Check out my sponsors, Uphold, Trezor, Proppy, VChain, I Trust Capital. All links will be in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.